Have you ever looked up at the stars and wondered how it all began? Genesis, the first book of the Bible, tackles these timeless questions. It's not just about the universe's creation, but about God's purpose and our place in the story. Genesis opens with God speaking everything into existence: light, land, life, showing a world crafted with intention. It claims our lives aren't random, but part of a larger divine plan. Genesis lays the foundation for the entire biblical narrative, introducing themes of creation, human rebellion, and God's relentless grace. It's the essential background, the starting point for understanding the human condition and our search for redemption. As we open Genesis, we're not just reading ancient myths. We're stepping into a story that claims to be the story of us all. It explores why there's beauty and brokenness, and why we long for connection and purpose. Genesis is both a story of origins and a story of destiny. Genesis unfolds in two acts. The first, a sweeping story of all humanity. The second, the focused journey of one family. Chapters 1-11, the primeval history, recount creation, the fall, the flood, and Babel, humanity's rise and repeated rebellion. Then in chapter 12, the narrative narrows to Abraham, a man chosen by God to begin a new chapter of hope. God promises Abraham that his family will become a great nation and a blessing to the world. The rest of Genesis follows Abraham's descendants, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, through triumphs and failures. This shift from universal to personal is the heart of the biblical plan. God's rescue mission begins with one family. Through their story, we see God's faithfulness to his promise, despite human flaws. Genesis sets the stage for the entire Bible, showing how God's plan for redemption unfolds. Genesis begins with a world created good, humanity in harmony with God and creation. But that harmony shatters when Adam and Eve choose their own way, introducing sin and brokenness. The fallout is immediate: shame, fear, and exile from paradise. The cycle of rebellion deepens. Cain kills Abel, violence spreads, and the world grows corrupt. God responds with the flood, sparing Noah's family to start anew, but humanity's pride resurfaces at Babel. These stories reveal a repeating pattern: human failure met by God's response. Sin isn't just breaking rules, it's a rupture in our relationship with God and each other. Genesis shows the consequences of our choices, but also hints at hope. The stage is set for a new beginning, not with all humanity, but with one chosen family. The problem is clear: the search for a solution begins. The focus shifts to Abraham, called by God and given a promise, countless descendants, a land, and blessing for all nations. Abraham's faith becomes the model for generations, even as his family faces trials and surprises. The promise passes to Isaac, then to Jacob, who is transformed and renamed Israel. Jacob's 12 sons become the ancestors of Israel's tribes. Joseph, one of the 12, is betrayed by his brothers and sold into slavery in Egypt. Despite injustice, Joseph remains faithful, rising to power and saving many during famine. In a moment of grace, Joseph forgives his brothers, declaring, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." Through this family's story, Genesis shows that God weaves redemption from human failure. The covenant with Abraham drives the biblical story forward. Even in brokenness, God's promise endures. Why care about Genesis today? Because it speaks to our deepest questions: where we come from, why the world is broken, and if there's hope. Genesis declares every life has purpose and dignity, created in God's image. It explains the world's pain and conflict as the result of humanity's choice to turn from God. Yet it's also a story of hope. God doesn't abandon us, but pursues and promises restoration. Through Abraham's family, Genesis shows God's plan to heal and bless the world. The stories mirror our own struggles: faith, failure, forgiveness, and hope. Genesis insists darkness won't have the final word. It's the beginning of a story still unfolding, inviting us to find our place in God's plan. Genesis matters because it's not just about the past, it's about our future.